Welcome to the T-Pac Arcade. Today's game is Rockman 3 for the Nintendo Famicom. In this 1990 action platformer from Capcom, Rockman's gotta stop Dr. Wily after the mad scientist reverts back to his evil ways and steals Dr. Light's peacekeeping robot, Gamma. Following the basic formula of its predecessors, Rockman 3 sees you fight your way through a number of selectable levels where you jump and blast across platforming sections, then defeat a dedicated robot master to gain its powers. They say copying is the sincerest form of flattery, but it doesn't feel much like flattery to copy a robot's powers after you've reduced them to rubble. Anyway, once these stages are cleared, you take on a number of additional levels and a slew of other boss battles until facing Dr. Wily himself. And in this game, the additional bosses include clones of all the robot masters from Rockman 2. Now, I'm all for recycling, but not when the recycling wants to kill me. But at least Rockman has a pretty stacked arsenal. Your core abilities here are a standard jump and a standard blaster. But Rockman 3 also adds a sliding mechanic to the formula, which lets you pass under low barriers and get out of harm's way more quickly than just running. On top of this, you have a new obligatory dog sidekick named Rush, who can bounce you onto high platforms with the coil power, fly through the air with the jet power, and swim underwater with the marine power. Normally, I don't like dogs. They're loud and messy. But Rush is a robot dog, and he's also a submarine, so my qualms are moot. And of course, in true Rockman fashion, you've got your increasing array of stolen Robot Master powers. And one Robot Master power is generally super effective against another, which means tackling the stages in a certain order gives you the best weapon for each fight. Unfortunately, I didn't know this order, so I had to replay a couple stages after I got to the boss and couldn't beat him without the optimal counterattack. To be perfectly honest, I really hated all these boss battles. I know they're the focus of the game, but they always felt like a war of attrition, where I got hopelessly pummeled while desperately spamming my own attacks and hoping to drain the enemy's life bar before they drained mine. That's why I didn't even try to clear this game without cheating. Most of these bosses took me dozens of attempts to beat, and I'm not going to sit here and replay entire levels dozens of times until those wars of attrition end in my favor. So save states were my best friend here, in spite of Rockman 3's generously unlimited continues and password system. That being said, I did thoroughly enjoy all the platforming stages. They're easily my favorite part of this game. Tons of neat gimmicks and enemies, like canisters that try to push you up into a row of ceiling spikes, giant mechanical snakes who I'd mistake for frogs if they didn't have all these wavy, scaly segments, angry missiles trying to disguise themselves as clouds and doing a bad job of it, chunky cats who attack you with fleas and hairballs and are consequently not as redeeming as Rush against my negative pet bias, things I can only describe as anti-light fixtures because they turn everything dark except for incoming grenade and eyeball dudes, magnet generators and disappearing blocks, which are a duo as deadly as ammonia and bleach, or maybe even cats and dogs, big robot penguins that act as garages for little robot penguins, bees, which are just as awful in video games as they are in real life, walls of destructible orbs that burst into cute little blue ghosties, and my personal favorite, goofy, googly-eyed garbage goons who throw compacted trash cubes at you. Although that only serves to remind me of just how garbage I am at Rockman games. This third entry is even mean enough to bring back the Yellow Devil from Rockman 1, a boss I only beat using the pause glitch in the first game, but now I had to actually survive his downright evil disassembling patterns. See, I thought maybe Rockman 3 would be the game that finally turned me around on this series, but no. It took all the most brutal parts from its predecessors and dragged me through them kicking and screaming yet again. But at least I have no dignity, and I'll place 100 save state bookmarks if that's what it takes to beat old Dr. Wily. Speaking of which, I had to do some internet research to figure out exactly how to beat him in that last battle. Apparently, the only weapon capable of landing the final blow is the top spin, which I didn't even know how to use because it's so hard to get the timing right. Go figure. Okay, so Rockman 3 isn't for me as far as pure gameplay goes, but I'll be the first to admit that, aesthetically, it's fantastic. Just like the previous two games, this one is full of the most charming, inventive, big-eyed bad guys you ever did see. Not to mention, expertly crafted minimalist stage elements that leave every level feeling unique, cohesive, and memorable, and 8-bit chiptunes that few developers other than Capcom could match in terms of quality. And there's even a novel cinematic element here, with Rockman 3's introduction of Brakeman, a rival character who mysteriously appears every so often to fight you, before ultimately saving you in the wake of Dr. Wily's destruction, and being revealed as Dr. Light's first robot before Rockman himself. A twist as cool as, well, Brakeman, who you know is cool because of his sick visor. Overall, Rockman 3 didn't sway me in favor of this series, but it still gave me plenty of great platforming to enjoy between insufferable Robot Master battles of attrition. And at least it proved to me that not all dogs are loud and messy, so long as they're not actually dogs, but robot submarine jets in disguise.